The wind howled, and the sea raged against the cliffs as Jonah, the last keeper of a forgotten lighthouse, stood alone in the storm's fury. His only companion, Luna, a seabird he had rescued years ago. Together, they had weathered countless storms, but tonight would be different. This storm was not just any tempest. It was a battle for survival. In the heart of the storm, Jonah's lantern, the beacon of hope for sailors lost in the dark, flickered one last time. And with Luna's wings carrying the light, the unthinkable would unfold, bringing together loyalty, sacrifice, and the power of love in the darkest hour. Welcome to The Last Lantern, an emotional tale of resilience, love, and the bonds that transcend the wildest of storms. The days had stretched out into an endless sea of storms, but for Jonah, each night had become a quiet battle between the physical pain of his body and the memories of a life well lived. It was during the darkest of those nights that he found himself thinking back on the very first night he had met Sarah. She had been young, radiant, with eyes full of wonder. They had met here, on this very rocky coast, where Jonah had worked as a young man full of ambition, even then dedicated to the lighthouse, though not yet its keeper. But it had been Sarah who had drawn him in. Her laugh, bright and carefree, the way she moved through the world as if the weight of the universe didn't bear down on her at all. She had been the light in his life even before this lighthouse had been his responsibility. "We'll build something beautiful here, Jonah," she had said one evening, standing hand in hand with him, staring out at the crashing waves. "Something that will guide the lost through any storm. Together." The words echoed in his mind as though she was standing right next to him. That was the promise they had made, and together they had built it. The lighthouse that had stood through countless storms, guiding ships safely to shore. They had poured their souls into it, brick by brick, and it had become a symbol of everything they had shared, unwavering, unyielding, and steadfast. As the storm raged outside, Jonah's grip on the railing tightened. He couldn't help but smile through the pain. Sarah had always believed in him. She had believed that he could weather any storm, that he could carry the torch and pass it on when the time came. And that was exactly what he had done. He had kept the light burning. But where is she now? The question lingered in his mind, like a heavy weight he couldn't put down. She was gone, and the storm had taken her from him too early. The life they had planned, their quiet evenings by the fire, the laughter that had once filled the air, those were nothing more than memories now. A soft sigh escaped Jonah's lips. He wished, more than anything, that he could hear her voice one last time. "Don't be afraid, Jonah. We're together, always." But she was gone, and he had lived through the years without her, clinging to the love they had shared as the only thing that kept him anchored. The lighthouse had become his new home, his constant companion, and Luna, his other light, had been there when the grief was unbearable. She had been with him through it all, through the quiet mornings, the sleepless nights, the loneliness that filled every corner of this old lighthouse. She had become Sarah's successor in a way, though the pain of losing Sarah never truly left Jonah. Luna had brought him a sense of peace he hadn't known since his wife's passing, her presence reminding him that love could come in many forms. But now, in the final moments of his life, Jonah felt it again, Sarah's presence. He could feel it all around him, as though her spirit had entered the room. He had kept the light burning. He had honored his promise. And somehow that gave him peace. Luna's final flight. Luna's wings cut through the rain-soaked air as the storm howled around her. The lantern tied to her leg swayed with each beat of her wings, but it stayed lit. The flickering flame in the storm was a beacon, one that had never faltered in all the years she had known Jonah. She was tired. The night had been long, and her small body was fatigued from the flight. But she had to press on. The ship was still in peril, but there was more now than just the duty to guide the ship. There was more than the light, Jonah's light. As Luna glided higher, cutting through the sheets of rain and the swirling wind, she caught a glimpse of the lighthouse far below. The flickering light from the lantern, that beacon of hope, was still visible through the storm, though weaker now, and Luna knew without a doubt that it was the last time she would see it. Jonah was fading. She could feel it in her heart. Her own heart ached as she thought of him, her companion, her protector, her only friend. Jonah had saved her when she was nothing more than a broken seabird. She had been nothing, alone and lost, until he had found her, mended her wings, and brought her into his world. "I've always been with you, Jonah," she thought, her wings carrying her forward despite the storm's attempt to drag her back. "I've always been loyal to you, and I always will be." The ship in the distance had begun to alter its course, now moving toward the guiding light. Luna's heart swelled with pride, knowing her task was nearly complete. The crew would be safe. Jonah's light had led them. They would make it through the storm. But Luna's mind, too, kept drifting back to Jonah. His smile, the way he would always reassure her when she was afraid of the storm. How he would tell her stories of the world beyond the lighthouse. His voice a steady comfort in the chaos. "You're not alone, Luna," he would say, just like he had told her when she was first healing. "You'll never be alone as long as I'm here." And now she was alone. "I kept my promise, Jonah. I guided them. I'll keep your light shining, even after you're gone." With one final defiant cry, Luna soared higher, her wings cutting through the air with a grace that came from years of trusting Jonah and the bond they had built. The light would guide them home. As the storm finally began to subside, the sun began to break through the dark clouds, painting the sky with shades of gold and purple. Jonah's time had come, but his legacy would remain. His light would not fade. The ship had made it safely to port, the crew having followed the path Luna had laid before them. And as the last gusts of the storm faded, a quiet, peaceful silence settled over Dagger Point. Luna landed softly by the lighthouse, her wings exhausted, but her heart full. She looked up at the lighthouse, its light now extinguished. The beacon had guided the ship, and it had guided her. Jonah had done his part. She hopped to the base of the lighthouse, her eyes searching for the man who had saved her life. But there was no sign of him. The door to the lighthouse was ajar, and Luna entered, her small body moving silently through the stone halls. Jonah lay on the cold floor, his hand still resting on the railing where he had last stood. The light was gone, but his spirit remained in the walls of the lighthouse, in the beams of the lantern that had once been his. Luna perched quietly by his side, mourning the loss of the man who had given her everything. She let out a soft cry, a mournful sound that echoed through the empty lighthouse. chaos. But even in that sorrow, Luna knew one thing for sure. She had kept the light burning until the very end, and she would carry it in her heart forever. As the storm subsides and the dawn breaks over the horizon, the ship's crew has been saved, guided safely by Luna's unwavering flight. But Jonah, the keeper of the light, is gone. His duty is complete. The storm may have passed, but the memory of Jonah and his loyal companion Luna will live on forever, a symbol of love that outlasts the fiercest of storms. In the quiet after the chaos, the light still shines. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more heartwarming tales that remind us of the power of loyalty, sacrifice, and love. And remember, sometimes it's the smallest light that guides us through the darkest moments.